Well, Murph, if the sunglasses didn't give it away, I think the beach here probably did. We are not in Raleigh anymore. We're in Amelia Island, Florida, just outside of Jacksonville, home of the ACC Meetings. Living life here at the Ritz-Carlton, not bad.
Not bad, but we're not staying here, unfortunately.
No. Wish we were, wish we could say we were, but we are meandering through lobbies, waiting outside of meeting rooms, trying to hobnob and get some information and some interviews with the power players here in the ACC, athletic directors, staff, coaches from men's basketball, women's basketball, and football, all here this week. And we're talking about some of the biggest storylines facing the conference this season.
I was just here for the salt scrub that's in the bathrooms here at the Ritz-Carlton. The Blooms of Amelia salt scrub. My hands looking as good as ever.
I used some earlier. You could tell my hands are a little dry. I probably need to go back for round two. So plenty of that to look forward in our coverage this week, but we're going to talk about some of the biggest storylines facing our teams. And there's a lot of new, I would say, is probably the first headline going in this week for our Triangle teams.
Yeah, there's a lot of new faces here. Michael Malone, head men's basketball coach at UNC. Steve Newmark, the incoming athletic director. Justin Gainey, the new head coach at NC State. First spring meetings for all of them. And so there's a lot of new around the entire league. A lot of ADs in this league are leaving. Bubba Cunningham's not the only one. And so a lot of fresh faces, maybe a lot of new ideas about the way the ACC has been doing business and the ACC's place in this changing landscape.
I've been pretty deep here in Hurricanes coverage on the daily, so I can't say I'm an expert in these rosters right now. I'm not sure anybody is except for the ultimate fans of these teams. But looking through them, the rosters are starting to take shape. I guess we could start a little bit with Mike Malone, our initial impressions. Obviously a lot of guys were going to leave when you get a new coach in. A lot of new guys coming in. Matt Abel from NC State. They get the big Virginia Tech transfer. They get Sayan Kaita. I'm going to learn these names eventually. The big 7-footer. That was one of the big headliners. What are some of your takeaways from the way his roster is looking so far?
A work in progress still. It looks like they've got the starting five put together, but could use another big. Certainly seems to be scouring the international market for another big, maybe a rotational big, maybe a starting big at the 3, at the 4, or the 5. And then, they seem to have a lot of depth, a lot of guys back from last year's team that maybe you didn't expect necessarily at the start of this coaching search. But the roster looks like maybe a tournament team roster, but not like a top 4 seed roster.
Shout out to, I believe that was Andrew Luck that just walked past us here. So you never know who you're going to see. And one person we did talk to a little bit the first day here at ACC Meetings is Justin Gainey, who was kind enough to speak to us for a few minutes. We hope to sit down with him this week as well to get a little deeper in his roster. And, he's going around shaking hands, doing the tour. He's been hard at work as well, assembling this roster. And a different character than UNC's. A lot of mid-major players. And then Paul McNeil, the headliner, returning after entering the portal and ultimately deciding to come back to be one of the anchor pieces for Justin Gainey's first team here.
And turning down LSU in the process.
Yeah.
I mean, Will Wade's team rebuilt the roster completely, and now Justin Gainey is going to have to do it once again. It's a tough way to live, right? A tough way to live in the portal, turning your entire roster over year after year. But it does look like Justin Gainey went in with a plan, has a lot of shooting on this team. Obviously, last year's team, I think Will Wade thought he was building a team with a lot of shooting. But if you look at the numbers of some of the guys they brought in, a lot of shooting on this team, some glue guys, do they have enough star power to get into that newly expanded ACC or NCAA tournament?
Meanwhile, Duke doing what Duke does, John Shire just being all charming and handsome, walking around here. He fits right in at the Ritz-Carlton, and so does his team because it is elite, it is high class. #1 freshman class coming in again. Guys like Cameron Williams headlining this thing, Deron Rippey, and then you've got the returners, an embarrassment of riches here with, Caden Boozer, Caleb Foster coming back. I'm mixing my Boozers and my Fosters. He's coming back as well, not to mention Dame Sarr. And then a bunch of transfers like John Blackwell, like I said, embarrassment of riches.
And Patrick Gongba, maybe the most important of the transfers to come back because he's a ton of size, established size. This roster is loaded, but that's nothing new, right? The question for Duke and John Shire, I think, is can they get over the hump, right? They've been to the Final Four. They've been to the Elite Eight. They've had leads deep into those games. Can they take the next step, make the national championship game, and finally cut down the nets for national title number 6.
Well, we don't know if they can get to the national championship or win the national championship, but it's going to be a heck of a lot easier to get in because now we have 76 teams. 76. Is this the first time they've expanded, like a major expansion, since 1985 when they doubled it?
Yeah, 1985 went to 64. Then they grew it a little bit to 65. Yeah. Remember that era?
68, right?
And then to 68,
Yeah.
and now to 76. And look, this was done at the behest of the big leagues, the ACC included. The SEC, the Big Ten, Auburn being left out. This is the big conferences saying we're spending a lot of money on men's basketball and women's basketball, but we're spending a lot of money on men's basketball, and we don't want our teams being left out. There's only 1 month that matters in college basketball right now, and that's March, and we don't want our teams being left out no matter how mediocre they are. They're spending a lot of money, and if we want alumni and fans and boosters to spend a lot more money next year, well, we got to get in the NCAA tournament. And so this is going to put several more borderline teams in the NCAA tournament, and I think may get to the point where Hubert Davis is not an anomaly, right? It's an anomaly to have a coach make the NCAA tournament and get fired. You expand that thing to 76, it becomes like a bowl game in some ways, and you see lots of coaches of 6-6, 7-5 bowl teams get fired. I think making the NCAA tournament no longer going to be a lock to keep your job.
I hated this when it first came out, but at least looking at what the bracket will actually look like, it made me feel a little bit better about it. Really what they're doing is making a play-in tournament earlier in the week. This makes conference tournaments even more null and void. And we're going to get the college football playoff expansion in a second. It's similar, though, where they're looking at eliminating conference championships in football. Do you eliminate conference tournaments in basketball? I guess you can't because the automatic qualifiers. I'm getting in the weeds here. The point I'm trying to make is that it's like 12 teams like basically playing in during the week, and they preserve the integrity of the 64 team bracket. Because what I didn't want to see was just this like giant, expanded out to 96 teams. You just have this giant monster round. It's still, at least you have that nice, clean 64 team bracket to fill out, and you have like a bonus one to watch during the week.
Yeah, by Thursday at noon, it's going to be a 64 team bracket, and that's all most people care about. But Tuesday and Wednesday, instead of just having those couple nightemnighttime games, you're going to have basketball all day, Tuesday and Wednesday, as they play it down from 76 to 64. I think this won't change most people's impression of the tournament. It'll still start on Thursday. What I don't like is the seeding, right? You're going to have 12s and 13s and maybe 11s playing on Tuesday and Wednesday. Well, how do you decide what those seeds are, right? If you're an 11, you'll have to play another 11, but 2 13s will get to play each other. It's the 64 was so clean and so pure. I'm not against expansion, but it just feels like this is a half step, and I'm not sure that it'll have a tangible impact, but more money, more teams in, and that's the way that all of college athletics is going right now.
More. That is the theme of college sports right now. You cannot get enough because they cannot get enough money. It is driving everything. Ultimately, a lot of this feels unsustainable, something we're going to talk about with athletic directors this week. Boo Corrigan, Bubba Cunningham, Steve Newmark, Nina King, they're all here. We've all kind of shown some face with them today. And it just comes back to athletic programs are desperately trying to create revenue. TV networks are trying to strike deals. And it holds true in college football as well. More inventory, more games, and they're looking at potentially going from 12 to 24 in college football. And this is another one I hate as well. I liked the 4. I loved the exclusivity of just the 4, and I loved the debate of who the 15 was. And the idea to me that we're going to be debating, like, who were we debating last year? We're talking about like North Texas versus Pitt. What are we doing?
Yeah, well, what we're doing is we're grabbing as much money as possible, right? And more, again, this comes down to teams investing lots of money in their rosters and wanting something in return for that. And what is going to be in return for that is a spot in this 24-team playoff if they get there. I don't know that we're guaranteed to get to 24. Maybe we go to 16 and it stops right there. But if you're in this ACC room, right, and you're not Miami or Clemson or Florida State, the chance of getting into 12 is really tough. I mean, the chance of getting into 4 is impossible, right? Yeah. The chance of getting into 12 is really tough. We saw it last year with Duke. They won the ACC. They didn't get into 12. Well, you expand that out to 24, Duke's probably in.
Yeah. Definitely.
If you're an NC State, you look at 24 and you say, we can make the top 24. We can get in there. We've been there with Dave Doran. We can get in the college football playoff. If you're North Carolina, You've had years where you've been ranked in the top 15, in the top 20. You can get to a 24. This is about bringing a lot of hope, not hope of winning a national championship, but hope of getting in the tournament to a lot more teams. I think you look at the ACC, you say maybe 9 or 10 teams in the ACC would feel like we can get in the top 24. We can make the college football playoff. And that's what it's going to require if you're going to have $30 million rosters. You got to have some hope. You got to have some hope. You got to be able to sell hope to your fan base, to your boosters, to the people footing the bill for these NIL rosters and rev share rosters. You've got to have the hope that we can make the college football playoff.
And you can't sell bowl games anymore, right? There's no carrot to that anymore. So ultimately, at least it gives you something to play for at the end of the season, as much as I think the playoff itself will be in a lot of ways a sham. But hey, the 1 year that low seed makes a run will be something we never forget. So that's one reason to support it. And of course the coaches want it, right? Yeah, I want to get in, right? It gives me more job security. So yeah, no, I almost said a word I can't say on the podcast. Yeah, no kidding. You want to have expansion. So those are some of the things we're going to be talking about with the power players here in the ACC this week, not to mention Duke's landmark deal with Amazon. So we've laid it out, kind of the baseline for you here going forward. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, which is another deal about money, right?
Yeah.
These schools are desperate to find money everywhere they can. So Duke strikes a deal with Amazon. I think has a lot of schools looking at their contract saying, wait a second. If we're Louisville basketball, if we're UNC basketball, can we cut a deal? If we're Clemson football, Florida State football, can we find a way to get one of these one-off games on Amazon, on Netflix, bring in millions of dollars? I mean, all of the things we're talking about, expanding the men's basketball tournament, expanding the college football playoff, this Amazon deal, all of it in the pursuit of more and more revenue for these athletic programs.
Well, I am sweating just thinking about it, or maybe that's the 85-degree sun. Good thing there's an ocean behind me. I can't jump into that, but I can go inside to some AC at the ACC meetings and edit some video. So stick with Brian Murphy and I on all the platforms here on WRAL. Can't wait to share more stories with you this week.